Hmm. Now, let's get this completely and abundantly clear. No sane, civilized person is happy that there are more than 600 people dead in Egypt, thousands wounded, and frankly, I'm entirely sure more to come. Any loss of life is tragic, and loss of innocent life more so. But what constitutes innocence? Well, that 10-year-old Christian girl in Egypt shot through the chest and murdered by Islamic fanatics about a week ago, she was certainly innocent. And I'm sure there are many people dead in the protests who are innocent as well. But we need to be realistic here. There are armed, dedicated, hysterical followers of a militant form of Islam led by the Muslim Brotherhood and their even more intolerant and violent partners in crime. They're protesting. Here, by the way, is their emblem. Now take a good look. Have a look at this. We're going to keep it on the screen for a bit. Does it symbolize to you, this is the emblem of the Muslim Brotherhood, does it signify peace and love and reconciliation? I want to tell you a story here. Bear with me as you watch this emblem. I was on a CBC show, they don't invite me now, a couple of years ago, hosted by Evan Solomon. A good guy, pretty fair. My fellow guest was a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood. We discussed their emblem and what it meant. He sat there next to me and he said, and he swore repeatedly that the Muslim Brotherhood did not feature a sword on their emblem. He did this because he knew the audience, Western and liberal, was naive and gullible, and would believe pretty much whatever he said. Look, you must not assume that the people demonstrating in Cairo and elsewhere are peaceful, ordinary, and desirous of democracy and freedom. Have a look at this. The voice, a person saying, no, 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 no. And the soldier only fired when someone pushed him from the back. It's obvious what happened to these soldiers. Like rabid animals, really. I'm sorry, but like rabid animals. The mob pounces on them, kicking them and beating them to death. Now, these are the people we are supposed to believe are peaceful protesters. No, no, my friends, no. These are not the crowds in Istanbul, Turkey, kids and students, ordinary people who just asked to be heard. These are not even the thugs of the black bloc and the hard left in North America. Those twits are middle class and they're violent because they know the police will not really hurt them. They're cowards. The Egyptian mobs, though, they will die for their religion and their cause. They actually want to die for their religion and their cause. Hassan al-Banna was the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He admired Hitler, he hated Jews, he wanted the Nazis to win the war, he supported the raising of an SS division amongst Muslims. Supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood have assassinated their opponents. They've killed Christians, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, Baha'i people simply for being different. They believe in a strict, rigid interpretation of Sharia law, leading to the subjugation of women, honor killings, stoning, the execution of homosexuals, the dhimmi status, second-class status of non-Muslims who have to pay a tax merely for existing, an armed jihad against the West and non-believers. They do not believe in democracy. They'll use it, they don't believe in it. They do not believe in freedom. They do not believe in the human rights we take for granted. And they certainly do not believe in peace. Please do not assume that desire for peace that we possess is shared by the Muslim Brotherhood. Martyrdom matters more than morality to them. Death matters more than life. This is not a sadistic military just killing protesters. This is a civil war between an army that to a large extent represents moderate Muslims, Christians, progressives, liberals, fighting an Islamic mob heavily armed that seeks to transform Egypt into a medieval Islamic state and wants an armed attack on every country that does not bend the knee. I've never been comfortable with the statement. You hear a lot that, oh, in some countries, some places, human life doesn't matter. I don't like that. But I do know from experience that in some cultures and in some religions, human life has a radically different meaning and a radically different purpose. We're seeing that now there It's happened before. It's going to happen again.
The United States strongly condemns the steps that have been taken by Egypt's interim government and security forces. We deplore violence against civilians. We support universal rights essential to human dignity, including the right to peaceful protest. We oppose the pursuit of martial law, which denies those rights to citizens under the principle that security trumps individual freedom, or that might makes right. And today, the United States extends its condolences to the families of those who were killed and those who were wounded.
He's out of his depth here. He is out of his depth, and these are empty words. And he gave about half a sentence of talking about what is effectively the ethnic cleansing of Christians in this country. Alessandro Bruno is with us. He's an expert on the Middle East, certainly about Egypt. This is not unarmed, peaceful protesters simply wanting democracy being attacked by a violent military. It's far more nuanced than that.
Well, it's much more nuanced and it's much more strategic than that. Morsi isn't, this is not even Morsi controlling the strings. It's it's the Muslim Brotherhood leadership.
Yep.
And in fact, some of them have been arrested. This action, I think, was definitely desired by the Muslim Brotherhood because this gives them martyrs, shaheeds. This will give the impetus for more protests and stronger resistance. It'll make life very difficult for the new government, putting it in embarrassing situations as it is right now, with the deaths of various civilians. On top of that, you've got a lot of recruits, young recruits in the army and security forces who are scared, and we've seen in Toronto how easily a police force can shoot unarmed civilians recently. So you can imagine multiplying that in a situation of tension, how this could have happened. But at the same time, I have the suspicion that it was not by accident. In other words, this was what the desired outcome. And you can see that by the fact that the official number of dead is now 600 and something or 700. I'm not sure. Today, I'm sure there were more. But the Muslim Brotherhood is claiming thousands more. So they want to see that number rise.
Yes, they do. The government said to the police and army and security services, you have the right to use lethal force to defend yourself or institutions of the state. Mubarak, of course, said, unless you're harsh and hard with the Muslim Brotherhood, if you've given them any room, this is going to happen. And Barack Obama said, I don't care, I don't care. And the situation now is innocent people as well as guilty. Innocent people are dying.
Well, I think the U.S. really, the West should stay out as much as possible. And you've noticed that for all the condemnation of it, the U.S. has one major card that it hasn't played yet. It could simply pull off aid. Cut off aid and you really cause a problem. That is exactly what the army...
surely.
Unlikely, because I think the White House was trying a new strategy. Let's let the Muslim Brotherhood rule, see what happens, probably be rejected in the end because it's incompetent. They know how to control neighborhoods and provide services, but at the general political level, they've proven completely ineffective. Let's not forget that when Morsi was deposed a month ago, it was July 3rd, he was at most suffering, 22% support. Most of the country was against him, not just the army. So that number probably hasn't changed. It's interesting to note that the more radical Noor party, made up by real Muslim fundamentalists, has not supported the Brotherhood in this stance.
Yeah, now explain that to me.
That is a very difficult thing to explain. They obviously are competing with that.
And let's just accept if people aren't following the situation. These are people, I mean, there are wings in the Muslim Brotherhood, and there are certain groups within it who probably don't approve of this. They are more peaceful and maybe more progressive, if you like. But this other party is radical. Pro-complete Sharia, elimination of Christians and so on.
Not only that, one of their main representatives in parliament was involved in the assassination of Sadat in 1981. And a lot of this is another problem. A lot of people have been released from jails. And I've seen just from the faces of the of the crowds. Some of them looked like they were inside in the camped out. I think those are the people who probably were. They were chosen carefully.
Let's talk. It's important that we do this about the treatment of Christians in Egypt. The Coptic Pope was part of a group of people, a transition team, when this new government came in. There were many others, but Christians have been targeted. It's not just Christians. This is, I think, very significant. It's churches too, a 4th century church in Upper Egypt. It's an attempt by some, and not all in the Muslim Brotherhood. There are those who do see Christians as being part of the fabric of the country, but they're enablers. But so many who are demonstrating, who have targeted individual Christians, and they want to eliminate any Christian presence. The churches have to be destroyed. More than 30, it could be as many as 50 by now.
Yes, and that's the other problem. Egypt, while very large, the largest Arab country, has very low relative literacy rate, something like 67%, I think I'm being optimistic.
Yep.
This means there's a huge fodder of people who uneducated, poor, that can be used for that kind of purpose. I don't think it's the intellectuals in the Brotherhood that are targeting the churches, but they can stimulate, and those are easy targets, particularly as the Pope definitely welcomed the new government. And I think the whole world did, quietly. No one wanted Morsi to go on. So the Christians will definitely come under more fire, and we've seen who suffered yesterday and during the riots, who was killed apart from the Western journalists. A British journalist died. Who killed? I don't think the army killed the British journalists. That was definitely the people in the Brothers. So some people there are armed, and this is going to go on.
Just before we go, always dangerous to predict, but as you say, the Brotherhood are not saying, "Oh, we're losing people, we better stop." They're saying, "We're losing people, it's going well."
This is exactly the problem. And as I said, watch for the term "shahid" being used. I saw it on the writing, every Friday. But now, when people die, there's the occasion for the funerals, and we've seen it a lot in Gaza. And now, though, there's another problem. The peace talks are proceeding.
With Israel,
and Hamas is a Muslim Brotherhood ally.
Exactly.
So they don't. This is the Muslim Brotherhood wants to interfere, but the West wants things to go calm because something is happening.
What a situation. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.